Hello and welcome back to Balance Training and Coaching YouTube channel. My name is Kurt and it's good to see you again. Today we have a topic which you will see by the title is a very popular point of focus for a lot of people in work. So we're going to look broadly at writing emails clearly. Now I say look broadly at, in a way yes, in another not quite. This video is actually for someone who is now named Tony at Company P, and Tony asked a very particular question relating to writing emails clearly. So it's broad but it's also specific. You'll have to forgive me, I've only been up about an hour, so what can I say? Good job it's not on speaking clearly. So yes, Tony said that sometimes she has a tendency to write in too detailed a fashion, or to worry that she's not being clear or clear enough about what she's writing. And sometimes to the extent that she struggles to even begin writing the email that she's focusing on. So I have 7 items for you here, Tony. As always, if these are helping, that's great, and let me know. And of course, if they're not quite hitting the mark, let me know and I will respond accordingly. So let's see where we go. 7 items, and we'll start with, Number 1, which persona processing type do you have? Now, I'm smiling because that sounds quite grand and quite complex and scientific. Tithic with a TH? I don't think so. Scientific, and yes, it's not. It's not really. It's essentially quite simple. You can make it more complex, determining how you approach it, but of itself it's quite simple. So I know, Tony, that I've done some training with you before on some other courses. I don't think we've done work on this, but let me know. There is a very particular exercise I do called working preference spectrums. I'm very confident you haven't done this, Tony, so I'm going to explain this to you. And I can give you the information if you wish on how to run working preference spectrums yourself. So put simply, think about the person or persons you're emailing or contacting and consider how they like or need to process information. And a very core consideration here is that, some people are very detailed, and it's by degree. It's not binary, either you're generic or detailed. It's by degree. So I often say mildly detailed, moderately detailed, majorly detailed, extremely detailed. Now, because we're complex as human beings, you will probably travel that entire spectrum day to day, depending on what you're doing. Equally, we also have a preference generally for how to process information. So yeah, the person or persons you're contacting, are they detailed, and if so, to what degree? Mildly, moderately, majorly, extremely? Or are they the other way and they're more generic? Mildly, moderately, majorly, extremely? By the way, as you're doing this, you might want to consider yourself. From what you've told me, I might guess that you are possibly detailed and maybe moderately to strongly in a number of contexts. That might be why you sometimes find that your own mind shuts down or gets confused. Therefore, to what degree are people getting involved in specifics? So detail people, of course, sometimes they want all the facts, the detail, the research, the data, the numbers. They want full structure, clear structure, comprehensive coverage, and so on. And again, maybe you have these qualities in yourself, Tony. Conversely, of course, generics up to extremely, they want less. And you could say extremely is, Tony, give it to me in a word, or give it to me in a number, one number. Less extreme might be in a couple of sentences. How does this thing work? So consider your persona in terms of processing information, your preference, and the personas of those you're contacting. Now, personally, I would say one of the best things you could do is ask this pretty straightforward question. Ask for their preferences. Therefore, if you don't know, feel free to ask. And as you know, you can do it in various ways. I'll give you an example. Quite often, almost always in fact, when I acquire a new client, I will at some point ask them this kind of question. I'll say, well, as you're aware, I have to send you information on the training topic or the discipline. How do you want the information? Do you want everything, all the detail, comprehensive coverage? Or do you want the opposite, and would you like a couple of bullet points? Or do you want something in the middle, a couple of paragraphs maybe? And what's great is people tell me, and quite happily so. And quite often also, people are quite grateful. They say, oh, thanks so much, that's very considerate of you. So, would they like a basic explanation or a basic provision of data? Would they like a moderate amount? Or do they want all the detail? And of course, Tony, as you know, once you've got the answer to that question, that will really help to guide you and instruct you when it comes to formatting those particular emails you're referring to. What do we have next? Yes. When you write the emails, if you wish, Tony, you can consider the 5 bands of language. It will take you seconds. Now, rather than go into this now, I get asked about this a lot, so I've decided I'm going to make a short video on this after this one. So yeah, just seek out the video on 5 bands of language, have a look at that, a few minutes, and then you will be able to use that in terms of how you actually write word for word the emails that you're writing. Another option is if you're sometimes, as I believe you were inferring, having to send sometimes quite long and or complex, convoluted emails in terms of what they're explaining or defining. If you want to, send a test sample. Yeah, so anything that's very substantial, if you wish, maybe check in with the person you're sending it to if that's necessary. And say, look, is it okay if I send you a test sample as we start, just to make sure that this is palatable for you, is clear? And again, it's certainly something you can do. You can send, as you know, a couple of sentences, a few figures, a section, and get their feedback. What else do we have? We've done that, and we need, oh yes. Something else that you can use is what I call bullet point spines. Now, I'll tell you where I actually got this from. Many moons ago, I studied, like you do, I studied the Shakespeare First Folio texts, and I didn't get out much, what can I say? And no, I'm mocking it, but it actually was fantastic, and I do believe they are quite amazing in terms of their coverage. But what's very interesting in particular, I find, is that, as you know, if you watch a Shakespearean play, the main characters sometimes have a whole chunk of speech. Sometimes it's called a soliloquy, and which you probably know, actually, Tony, in your field. And it was debated, how could the actors, say at the Globe Theatre in London back in the day, how could they rehearse the lines to, say, 3 plays a week? Because often they were rotating plays in a single week. And one of the arguments, which is not 100% agreed to, but there are a lot of people that believe this has a certain element of truth to it, said, well, if you look at a whole chunk of speech or text, certain words have their first letter capitalised, so you'll have time, love, power, destiny. And one of the arguments was that this is like a spine or an anchor that just aids the retention of the actor who is learning the lines. Now, I actually did this for a long, long time. I actually practiced that process, and it does indeed really assist memory. So I've now translated it to what I call bullet point spines, which you can use in emails. Now, you can use these however you like. One simple way is single words. You might tie it into the top 2, one or other, or both, as well, especially when you know your audience. So it could be single words. So if this was single word spine, it would be, I would go probably persona, preferences, language, test, bullets. That's a single word bullet point spine. You can do what I call sub-7s. It just means in less than 7 words. So you might have bullet points, but they are 6 words or less. You can, of course, change the number. You can have sub-3s, sub-7s, sub-8s, sub-9s, and so on. It's a very, very good way to encourage brevity and incisive clarity, lucidity in what you're saying. Some people say you can have single sentences, which of course you can. That said, of course, a sentence is 2 words or more. Birds sing is a sentence, but birds sing because they love to do so in the summertime when it's warm and fluffy and it makes them feel good is also a sentence. So you might want to cap it. You might say, well, all right, 15 words or less. So you're veering back to sub-7s or subs. Audience types. I will send you a handout on audience types. Tony, I'm not sure you've seen this, so I'll send it to you just in case. And it lists the 5 types of audience you generally get when you're presenting. Now you can also use this for emails, and it should be self-explanatory. If it is, that's great. If it's not, just let me know and I will clarify audience types. To the viewing public, forgive me for not going into detail on this. I might make a video on this. I just have to be a bit careful with content because obviously I have paying clients, so I can't give everything away for free. Otherwise, you know, I would quite rightly get told off. But I might make a video on that in the future. Yes. Something else that you can use, Tony, is what I call signalling, and particularly at the beginning of an email. What you do is you quite clearly signal your tone or your intention or your attitude. As we are aware, there is no tonal delivery on an email message and no body language either, so they are quite often wildly open to misinterpretation. So try signalling, Tony, and it's relatively simple as well. For example, you might say, "Oh, hi Kurt, it's Tony here, contacting you about X." Then you signal your tone and choose your words. It might be something like, "I am genuinely looking forward to working with you," or "I'm very excited to be working with you," or "I'm really keen to ensure, Kurt, that what I send over to you is suitable or clear," etc. Please feel comfortable to tell me if any of it is not so clear or it's a bit convoluted. If you have a healthy relationship with the people that you're working with, you might take it a step further. You might say, "Kurt, just to let you know, sometimes I get bogged down in detail, or sometimes I'm concerned that what I'm writing is a bit too confusing, so please feel comfortable to let me know if that's the case. I'm very happy and keen to ensure that you feel clear on this." Okay, so signal your tone. And there you have it. There are 7 things, Tony, that you could play around with in terms of writing your emails. Definitely look at bands of language, because when you see that, it will open up a whole panorama of words and phrases and sentences that you'll realise you can use. And this only take a couple of minutes to understand. Okay, so I'll make that video in a moment, and then you've got that too. That's it. That's a few things on writing emails clearly in one particular sense. And Tony, if you approve, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a like or subscribe. That would be great. And of course, get in touch. If this is good, fine. If it's not, let me know. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next course. Take care.